Good morning to you, my friends, wherever you may be in the world today. Alan Clements here from Santa Monica, California. June 16th, 2021. I hope this finds you not only well, but thriving, dynamically active in your mind, in your psychic intuitive presence, in your purpose, in your sense of meaning, my conviction, if you will, in engaging the challenge of being human and alive in this world. To state the obvious, it is not only challenging, but one of the most complicated, perhaps the most complex endeavor, is to awaken in this context, because one is compelled to consciously feel, not just feel, but consciously feel, and at that edge of the confluence of context with consciousness through the senses, to bring courage to that feeling engagement. And with conscience, there comes emotionality, there comes discernment, reasoning. There comes that refined state of ethics that determine the appropriateness, skillfulness, suitability, the right, the wrong of that which one is feeling, and the intelligence / the narratives that determine and define the name and the event of the phenomenology. Is it war? Is it rape? Is it love? Is it romance? Is it profit? Is it income? Is it loss? Is it birth? We have labels, obviously, for just about everything. So, from my heart to yours, thank you for resuming with me this challenging process of shared communication across this massive divide through the digital medium. I so yearn, crave, want, desire human interaction. The necessity of being in real-time presence with sister fellow savants, of being embodied. I'm downright tired of the digital domain, frankly. Today's sharing Deva Dhammas, Deva Dhammas. And those of you who are unfamiliar with that term, it's one of my favorite terms that I've only recently, in the last 4 years, learned from my late Dhamma meditation teacher, the Venerable Seda U Pandita. And in a set of conversations that we had back in 2016, before he passed away, he introduced Deva Dhammas. Devas, now allow me here with you to sit back, to hang, make it a meditative experience in the way that talks to your heart, that makes it purposeful, engaging. Deva, the refinement of cognitive energy. You and me are encased throughout with form, materiality, organs, blood, DNA, animated through the six senses, and within that there's the presence and the idea of an entity, an idea of a being that perceives. A deva is an embodied being, as I understand it, through my own exploration of the psychedelic. And within that purposeful engagement of the deva is a radiant being of splendor and delight and based upon their own unique karma, the process of actions and the results of those actions, karma and vipaka in Pali. One is this being of subtlety and nuance. Now, those of you who've meditated and are meditating, you know, or that you co-join with your yoga and your psychedelic exploration, the psychic intuitive. Well, the Deva is that embodiment, rather than just simply the play of cognitive refinement within meditation. There's actually the embodiment of the Deva. And I am completely fascinated down, I would say the opposite of mesmerized, enchanted, with the reality of deities and devas and simultaneity, multidimensionality, waves and particles, frequencies, beings of frequency. I don't want to get too airy-fairy here about all this, especially as I leave Santa Monica and go to Maui temporarily on June 25th. That's happening, God willing. But the Deva consciousness and the refinement of consciousness, those two things, and the word Dhamma. What is the refinement of love? What is the refinement of compassion? What is the nuance of loving kindness made real in the enrichment of a sapio-sexual, celibate, Ubuntu, eroticized, mindful engagement? Yes, they're just words, but energetically, what does it mean to tantrify shared space? Deva Dhamma is that concept. It's a category of consciousness and states of consciousness that, as I understand them to some extent through my own meditation practice and from what I gather through the psychedelic exploration and talking with my teachers, super refined states of mind. Now pause. I was going to talk about mass hypnosis, the cult of trust, and the rest of us. And I'm going to weave in between this talk some stories and vignettes that kind of make it contemporary. I really do feel that we're at the possible end of liberty on the planet. That's another topic. Totalitarianism, I can't say enough about. But yesterday, a group of young Gen Z, Gen X, women and men, boys and girls from Myanmar, Burma, came over. They're filmmakers here at USC. And they're doing a film on Burma's ongoing civil disobedience movement, essentially their struggle for freedom, the epic struggle for freedom. Now, for those of you who are aware, my ally, mentor, friend, co-author, Daw Aung San Suu Kyi, the elected state councillor of the country of Burma, Myanmar, and the Nobel Peace Laureate in 1991, she is at this point being truly paraded before an Orwellian, satanic military tribunal. There's no other way to look at it and say it. Being paraded, forcibly paraded before, masked and detained, we don't know where she is, before this satanic Orwellian military tribunal somewhere in Myanmar, probably in the capital, Naypyidaw, orchestrated by the satanic terrorist organizer in the country, the cult leader, Burma's Min Aung Hlaing, the former general, who's now walking in the footsteps of Pol Pot in the earliest stages of the Khmer Rouge. And of course, many of us are aware that Pol Pot is responsible for the systematic murder of between 1 and 2 million Cambodians. Well, Min Aung Hlaing is wanted in the criminal court in The Hague for atrocities, crimes against humanity, ethnic cleansing, not just of the Rohingya in the Rakhine state, but of the other ethnic minorities throughout the country, which many of you are aware through my own serendipity of events. Back in 1990, wrote a book based on my time in Shan State and Karen State called Burma, the Next Killing Fields. That was Min Aung Hlaing's, metaphorical father who orchestrated that genocide. And set aside the psychology at the moment, just to talk about the events. Aung San Suu Kyi is being paraded before this satanic tribunal. My point is the mass hypnosis of the world, which is juxtaposed with the concept of Deva Dhamma. Deva Dhamma isn't just ordinary mindfulness, but Deva Dhamma is that unthinkable, psychic, intuitive, enriched fidelity of consciousness and heart, hyper-aware, if you will, of conscience. That's such a very important concept experience for me. Can you occupy, I invite you, can you occupy meditatively, not just right now, I don't want to put you on the spot, but just your conscience, not consciousness, not that field that illuminates our thoughts and ideas and memories and keeps it somewhat in the ecosystem of continuity based upon a familiarity of identity and often the loss of identity. But conscience, that deep, reflective, almost intrinsic state of right and wrong, good and bad, suitability and unsuitability, that if one were mindful, continually reflecting on a Deva Dhamma quality of mindfulness, and with insight and wisdom and determination and patience and compassion, all the various SOM, states of mind, that we imbue within the field, the radiant flow of Deva Dhammas, in the heart or the soul of conscience. I only know about spontaneity and flow here. I don't like to be prepared. But conscience. Right now, Aung San Suu Kyi, the elected president, U Win Myint, so many other men and women, 5,200 of them, incarcerated in the prison camps in Burma. They're political prisoners being raped, tortured as we speak. And there's a mass hypnosis that somehow that's been normalized that that's okay. It's okay. Vaccinations are okay. The strains are going to kill you. The left agenda is acceptable. It's far better than Donald Trump. The mass hypnosis of Dr. Anthony Satanic Fauci with his deep pockets and his sociopathic skills to lie to the face of the world as the prophet of health when he himself is drunk deep into a bioweapons lab, 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 gain of function, increasing the lethality of an orchestrated strain of virus meant to kill for profit with pharmaceutical companies, or to take out ethnic groups, or to control the world, or global totalitarian. A bioweapons lab? That's normal. So when I speak about Deva Dhammas, for me, I cannot help but juxtapose it with mass hypnosis. War is a hypnotic narrative that's become normal. Rape is a hypnotic narrative that's become, yes, I'm ruptured through but it's normalized. Men and women in high office sanction mass murder, individual cities being obliterated. The crimes against humanity, the crimes against the ecosystem, the crimes against the fish, the birds, the children, the crimes against the unborn, the crimes against conscience. You know, I am so at two with what I'm saying. I feel like I don't belong. And there comes in the Deva Dhamma. I take a deep breath. I so want to transition. I feel like I'm in an existential hospice. Just give me the consciousness and the conscience and the soul and the courage to transition to the Deva Lokas, where there is a finer regard for mutuality, kindness, love, intimacy, sexuality, the absence of conquest, the absence of genocide. Pretty cool environment that is in this bandwidth called samsara, that we have at least words that point to that and meditative trainings that we can occupy as embodied humans and have a Deva Dhamma experience. I can't encourage myself enough to occupy Deva Dhammas. Now, Aung San Suu Kyi, coming back to Burma and her, in these interviews that I did yesterday to these Gen Xers and Gen Zs, it was fascinating to me because the producer, the director of the film, he's from Shan State in Taungji, where I had been many times, and he's from an area not far from a very famous place that few people know called Pindia. And it's famous for many things, but there's a set of caverns, underground caves in that area. And if you've been there, you know, but if you haven't, they're filled with ancient Buddha relics and statues. And I was there back in the 80s, and one of the first people in present time, Westerners, to have gone there. And I was on a nationwide, very casual serendipity tour to learn the language and the cultures of the country, and traveled to a number of the different ethnic regions, and Shan State, Taungji, Pindia was one of them, and it was a highlight. And I remember my teacher, Sayadaw U Pandita, talking to me about Pindia after I'd been there. And just in brief, apparently some time back, quite a ways back, there was a king whom perceived and was told by couriers that there's a somewhat warrior-driven conqueror within the country that wants to take over the Pindia region outside of Taungji in Shan State long ago. And the king rose up in his role, like an Ashoka from King Ashoka in ancient India. He rose up in his role and said, if you wish to try to conquer this area, you must conquer me. A real noble leader. And in preparation for the ensuing battle, he encouraged the people of his area to preserve the sanctity of Dhamma and the relics and the Buddha statues, and put them in safekeeping and hide them in Pindia caverns. Now, as I understand Burmese history, the king was defeated, the area was ethnically cleansed, and Pindia descended into the memory hole. Years back, during the British era, a British explorer apparently tripped and fell and caught himself from going down deep. And he realized, oh my goodness, I've fallen into what looks to be an unexplored cavern or cave. And cut to the chase here, he descended into that cavern and found miles of caverns with these ancient Buddha statues and relics. And I had gone there and heard this story from Sayadaw U Pandita. The point, here we are, jump time, June 2021. Another king of evil, Ming Online. Another warring group of men and women called the military, the Thamada, now known as MASAC, the latest terrorist organization on our planet. Ming Online State Administration Council, MASAC. And the mass hypnosis is so normal that throughout history, we have these overlapping, deeply kind of convoluting, crashing, tsunami wave clipped avalanches of horror and love kindness and hate, war and peace, civilization and domination, conquest and civilization, growth and demise. Emperors and empires come and crumble. Queens are born and babies and jewels and beggars and slaves and leprosy and volcanoes and Pompeii and explosions over the Indian Ocean and Indonesia that shower volcanic dust and ashes over thousands of square miles just in recent history that obliterate all life in this great ash. And it's like, I don't belong. Deva Dhammas. I don't want to normalize history and go, hey man, let's create some spoken word poetry. Let's go to a restaurant. Hey man, let's go down to Canggu and rent a really cheap villa now that there's no tourists. Hey man, let's go to Maui and open up and do a little bit of a Dana-based retreat and go down to the beach when we can and heal. Hey man. It's just something so in me. But Deva Dhammas, I don't know about you, where I'm finding a little bit of that hope, reason to be. It's both the psilocybin, it's the DMT, it's the MEO, it's the lysergic, it's the psychedelic Deva Dhamma metaphor that I'm tuning into right now, both as a style of being inside of my own consciousness and with those fewer and fewer women and men who I'm feeling inclined to co-resonate frequency wave with. Yes, I want to get a little bit quantum physics-like and introduce a little bit of the psilocybin to that in a meditative Deva Dhamma state. Yes, I'm in a hyper-altered state because I feel like the king in Pindia, a mass hypnosis, end of liberty, totalitarian, corporate communism, a vaccine that really is about slavery and control and domination. No QAnon here. It's the nature of the samsaric ocean, wave, mountain, collapse, avalanche, volcano that we're in. I don't want to belong to history. I don't want to be yet another brick in the wall, to quote Pink Floyd. I hope you're with me. You know, it's a bit of a rant, poem, scream, hope. I'm a little bit nervous. I'm dancing with the devil and with the angel simultaneously. I'm trying to bridge from here to there. I'm trying to make it work. Blessed are the few friends and the blessed are those who've been supporting me the last few months, the last few years. Namaste, namaste, namaste. And Deva Dhammas is this refuge right now to get me through. Now, Aung San Suu Kyi, this is her birthday coming up on June 19th. Decades back, the anniversary of her first placement under detention. It's shocking to me, the mass hypnosis, the normalization of that great evil there. And as I go down into this talk a little bit further, it brings up the question, where do you, where do our friends sit within the heart space of non-ordinary conscience? Where are you, President Biden? Where are you, Secretary of State Blinken? How can you normalize the world politics and allow the desecration, the domination, the obliteration of Aung San Suu Kyi? Because she is not just a woman. She is not just an amazing mind. She's not just an elected leader. She's called Ma Su in her country of 54 million people because she embodies the mother of goodness and caring to the people. And she represents global revolution, global democracy, global feminine-inspired dialogue over toxic masculine destruction. She is connected through my teacher, and she and I as friends and Dhamma brothers and sisters, along with many others, a Dhamma Deva Dhamma savant. You just don't know that. You haven't spent time with her, and she's being paraded before the satanic Orwellian military tribunal, making a mockery of democracy. It's called a trial. That's like saying rape is consensual. It is an unthinkable, tragic bastardization of concepts. It is completely sick. And yet, mass hypnosis and the cult of trust. I don't know about you, but I'm done. I'm done belonging anywhere. I'm done pretending, done playing it nice, done giving sweet talk, done looking for this, done. I wish I had more undone to be even more done. Alan, encourage yourself to embody more radicalized experiences of Deva Dhamma. It isn't just fun and games and psychic intuitive trans-sapiosexual eroticized Ubuntu-fied spoken word Dhamma-centric poetry where you make love and you orgasm for centuries. It's conscience. It's courage. It's navigating here to there. So much has had to go to get from here to Maui. It's just unthinkable. And still all the tests and out to the airport and documentation, Q codes, car rentals, rentals of properties. Everyone's a Buddhist. Everyone's a bodhisattva. And yet we want, X amount of dollars because they'll give it to us and they'll give it to us. And I can just see it. The entire world is just, hypnotized by money. No offense anywhere in the world. Money. No wonder people want to get rich. They can buy their way out of the dialogue, right? It doesn't free you from greed, anger, and delusion, but it certainly takes you away from the slavery of that. Deva Dhammas. Deva Dhamma. Jump ship from your apathy. Jump ship. Strip yourself from your narratives of needing to stay home. Jump ship from relationships. Bail out. Run the other way. Give them 3 fingers in salute of the alignment to the solidarity of the civil disobedience movement in Burma going wild around the world. But empower those Deva Dhammas. Those Deva Dhammas. Those Deva Dhammas of radiant states of mind that are connected to ethical courage and conscience. Do not let Aung San Suu Kyi be paraded before a military satanic tribunal. Speak up. Take action. Do not retranslate news. Proactive Dhamma Devas. Go for it. thinking of a favorite sutta attributed to the Buddha. I'm kind of back on again. I took a 4 or 5 day hiatus. Leave it at that. It's been tough, but I'm back. The Vimala, beautiful woman at the time of the Buddha, walking through the forest, hears the Buddha talking, goes, and the Buddha and she have had Deva Dhamma union from time immemorial. You know those rare beings where you feel their radiance, their subtlety, their nuance, their eye, their mind, their quietude. They're not trying to run a new age, slick Silicon Valley, I do DMT along with you story on your tantrified, open-bodied yoni. They've got something in them that is radically mysterious. The more they know, the more they don't know, and yet they're super vulnerable, at the same time ferocious in their fire. Aung San Suu Kyi. So many of these boys and girls. These Gen Xers in my room yesterday filming and talking. Radical, fire-breathing women and men. Courageous, cool, radical artist, filmmaker, activist, trying to evoke a revolution in other people's mind, even among their own Burmese community worldwide. Do not let Aung San Suu Kyi go unnoticed. And so Vimala and the Buddha made high eye, heart, mind, conscience, Dhamma Deva connection. And the Buddha, it's said, could be, just right here and now, a very intimate dose of Deva Dhamma, DMT, meditative presence, and they communed. And time stopped. Just them. And the Buddha, it said, as I understand it, and feel it in my meditative practice and translate what I read, communed with the deepest recesses of his intuitive wisdom conscience root out of compassion, having transcended the hypnosis of delusion and any collusion with their so-called attributes, fear, greed, privilege, profit, blame, righteousness, all those attending qualities to moha or delusion. He looked at her and she looked at him, and he brought between them an image, a psychically created image, a Deva experience that in 1 minute, the entity, the created entity, transformed from youthful beauty and began to crumple over, hair falling out, teeth, eyes sunken in, and eventually, within 1 minute, from 18 to 30 to 50 to 70 to 80 to 90, and dropped to the earth. And there, between the Buddha and Vimala, it said, the body decomposed, disintegrated, and disappeared in 1 minute. I go right back to Pindia Cave and the king and the war on the sovereignty of that region, and the blessed Buddha statue centuries later found in these caves, and having that image of Vimala, the image of transition and impermanence, so rapidly in our own mind's eye, the Deva Dhamma of wisdom, the radiance of subtlety to see beyond the narratives of the mass hypnosis of right and wrong, good and bad, of love and hate. But what's the characteristics that this shimmering sea of events and places and gender and time and war, what are the cognitive properties of conditionality? What are we made of as entities and beings? What is consciousness? What are thoughts? What are the fabrics? What are the particles? What are the waves? Who am I? What is identity? What is the meaning of life? What is the purpose? What is the applied experience of Dhamma? Deva Dhammas offer the radiance of wisdom rooted in conscience and compassion, deeply empowered by ethical courage to act on behalf of wisdom. And my point here as I come to the end, the caring for others as if they were you. Opposite of mass hypnosis, Daw Aung Suu Kyi, a sister, in my own humble way, miles away, speaking up for her, speaking up for democracy, speaking up for freedom. I invite you, who are you speaking up for? Who are you acting on behalf of? Or are you mesmerized by the narrative of self-indulgence? No offense. But right now, we have an incredible death going on, a mockery of freedom and justice, a deeply perverse rape of the feminine, of this satanic military cult by men, denigrating Daw Aung San Suu Kyi and the woman, parading her before this incredible, ridiculous, there's no word to describe it as a trial. It's a persecution of decency, integrity, and justice. And of course, it's just a blip in the history of existence. Where will we stand in conscience? I invite you, as we come to the end today, root ourselves in these Deva Dhammas. Take it out of the pursuit of wealth and status and hope, and root ourselves in the actualization of refined states of consciousness. The word refined here is equal to the word deva. A deva is a refined entity, super nuanced. You can hear things that normally beings or yourself can't hear. I know you've had those experiences. You can smell things that you normally can't smell. For me, the last 6 months, the last year, even more so now, I can hear the thoughts of others. I can feel predictions of what I will hear, what will I encounter, what they're thinking. All I have to do is place myself in somewhat of a silent state. I can feel it. I can hear it. I can imagine the experience before it happens. Are you with me? Deva Dhamma state. Nothing unique, nothing to celebrate, but they're very refined states. And if I'm not careful, the shadow of that pursuit is I want to transcend. I'm done. But I'm still embodied. And really what's driving me to be more and more refined is to create a safe haven, a sanctuary where my beloved Sarabella, who I was reconnected to just a couple of days ago on her transition from Mexico back to Canada, unexpectedly stopped here in LA, and we spent the day in this house. What a divine creature. Not just my daughter, but just a refined Dhamma Deva that represents life, like all those Buddha statues that were stashed away in Pindia. And thousands of years in Vimala's experience of just a few minutes. If that Vimala experience of seeing a beautiful body, your own, right before your own eye, transition, old, diseased, dead, collapsed, rotting, maggot eating it, and then dust dissolving, and it vanishes. Think of that Vimala experience to be your family. In 1 minute, we see them transition. What would that do, Alan, to your priorities? You're going to Maui. What would it do to the way in which you live today, on that plane if you make it, and when you land? What will you say? What will you feel? What will you do? I don't know about you, but the more Deva Dhamma driven I become, it's so difficult to maintain dialogues unless there is refined energy there. Remember this in a monastery. It was so refined, so beautiful. I'm really wanting that again. What if it was your family, your daughter? What if Vimala's experience was the entire city of New York? In 1 minute, we saw where it is today, these grand openings in restaurants and theaters filled and Broadway and people dancing and celebrating. In 1 minute, we see it go from where it is in June 2021, and all of a sudden, it's June 3031, June 4041, June 1,000,001, June sun engulfed planet Earth, Pindia cave, Vimala experience, a great silence. We're in these simultaneous dimensions. The mass hypnosis that we're not in these concentric dimensions of reality. What are we paying attention to? I'm not saying listen to me to pay attention to what I'm paying attention to. I'm inviting in a dialogue to encourage you, obviously, to pay attention to what's important to you. I'm just simply sharing from my heart, to state the obvious, what's important to me today. I'm in a process like you of recognizing my mortality. It's become front and center. The Buddha with Vimala, the Pindia cave king and conqueror, Da Aung San Suu Kyi being paraded before the satanic evil cultist Ming Online. All of us at this very moment, a great in-breath and a great exhalation. At the end of the exhalation, we all transition. How well did we live? Where are we occupying? What are our choices? What will you do with the preciousness of who you are today in your home as you are? But at the same time, it's not enough just to be present and eat the strawberry of the moment alone. Yes, there's value, obviously. Sipping wine as sacrament, making love as divine. But you've got to navigate, Alan. You've got to see that it takes something very skillful and special to get from here to there. I want to be in Deva Dhamma Loka, Tusita, with my Treya, with my lover, with my husbands, with my daughters, with my children, with my friends, with my samsaric sangha. Do you feel that wave? Those are Deva Dhammas getting us there. Radiant states, may I encourage you as we end today. What are your Deva Dhammas? What are the states of mind by label that define your radiance, not just your beauty or your hope? What are you dedicating your vocation spiritually to? I mean trans-Tibetan, trans-Burmese, trans-Muslim, trans-Catholic, trans-American. Drop everything. We have a brief moment in time here, like in Pindia, in Shan State, with these Gen Xers. And I'm reflecting, as with the Vimala and the Buddha from 2,600 years ago, with Alan right now in transition, with you where you are in transition. Where will you go? What will you do? How well will you understand all of Manhattan dissolving in 1 minute, all of the planet Earth dissolving in 5 minutes? An entire galaxy? 1 billion trillion Earth-like spheres in the knowable universe, with entities, deities, UFOs, driven or not driven, artificial intelligence, organic intelligence. 1 million years is a nanosecond of nothing. Imagine 100 million years more advanced than who we are. It is truly mind-boggling. And we have a moment here on the shoreline of recognizable health, consciousness, some degree of safety, having access to clothing, food, shelter, friendship, and refuge, And being at the stage of life that you find yourself, and I find myself, with the mental acuity and mind states of Dhamma, with history and memory and friendships, I'm blessed by these friendships, these alignments. I'm right there with Vimala and the Buddha. I'm right there with the king in Pindia. I'm right there with Dasu in Naypyidaw. Wherever you are, Dasu, you're not alone. As this transition from here to there, I hope, God willing, what do you really, really, really want to create? I want to heighten, sharpen, and refine my Deva Dhammas. Write them down. I'm going to have a retreat to end this, a global retreat, July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. It may or may not be with people in physical presence. There may be obstacles that I just don't have the bandwidth to engage, and it may just simply be digital. It may be, I'm thinking on Zoom from 10 to 4 p.m. Hawaii time, July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. I'm inviting you to invite your friends. It'll be the first time that I've done something like this in nearly a year and a half. And I do say that I'm looking forward to that co-creation rather than just simply talking to my reflection in digital time, across time, into your heart, back to me. Thank you for being in my life. But I really would like to spend more carefully composed, if you will, shared time over several days and drop into the co-creation, evolution, elevation of Deva Dhammas. If I had a desire, and I do have a lot, I want to be around a few people. It could be 2, 5, 10, 2,000, I don't know. And commune in this shared space to activate the most heightened, refined, Vimala Buddha interactive, eroticized Dhamma Ubuntu energy. Co-creating shared cognitive vistas coupled with deep exploration beyond labeling. What does dignity mean to you as a felt experience? How well do you occupy conscience? How does it talk to you? When you're thinking, do you co-join conscience and mindful reasoning with that thought stream? How do you know that you're aware of that thought? Talk to me about the feeling component to your mindfulness. What are the textures of love? What is the meaning of compassion for you? If you were to write down 3 expressions of compassion that you would like to evolve and to dedicate the next month to, what would they be? What could you creatively do to support Daw Aung San Suu Kyi over the course of the next month? What are some of the ways in which you could communicate the evidence of your own courage, your own conscience, your own Dhamma? What do you need to do to excavate your own possible apathy, apprehension, or how you've been hypnotized by the propaganda of the corporate media to therefore believe that she did wrong to people, and to overcome that hypnotic propaganda and overcome your own cult of trust in your own delusion and break free into the greater awakening of a more liberated mindset that says, I hear you, sister. You are me. I am you. I want to break bread. I want to consecrate your tribunal with radical intervention. I'm a revolutionary this month with my compassion. What does that mean? So hip on the dialogue. I was blessed to have beautiful Kalyanamitas. Mahasi Sera, Usujata, Sera Upandita. Just beautiful, beautiful men and women too. Sera Ujjanaka, my first teacher appointed by Mahasi Sayadaw. I just recently saw him in Burma. I'm feeling a lot. I'll close here. Feeling a lot. But as it was said back to me the other day by my very dear friend, beloved friend, soul sister ally, Janine, that, and I've been here, but the reaffirmation of this, nothing is broken. For almost 3 months now, I've been dealing with a medical industry that deals with broken. I mean, it's really an assault. It appears to be life-saving and compassionate. Yes, yes, yes. I'm right there with you. But boy, it is a challenge not to embody that something is wrong, or that you're dying, or that you will die a tragic, painful death, or that something's broken. And right there, I don't know about you, but I'm inviting you to invite me, to invite our friends. Yes, we are radically flawed, to state the obvious, and so beautifully comforted with the quilt of denial. But we're radically flawed. We're contradictory. We deceive ourselves. We lie without knowing it. We call it truth. We're all embedded in the hypnosis of delusion. I don't speak from any certainty, but I'm trying my best to promote improvisational, deep spontaneity, and then to watch and to feel through mindfulness, is it authentic? Is it truthful? How do you know it's authentic and truthful? Is it rooted in what state of mind? Compassion, wisdom? Are you under the hypnosis of a type of narrative or propaganda? Why do you fear death, Vimala? The Buddha just brought this image and you went, oh my God, the Buddha and she communed. And as the story goes, Vimala awakened. She dropped the most nuanced pretenses of longevity, the most nuanced interpretations of beauty. Beauty in the wisdom of being in the evanescent causality of impermanence, without centrality, dissolving and forming like cognitive snowflakes in this timeless liberty that refuses to participate in the propaganda of political totalitarianism and corporate communism that's coming down heavy on all of us. We're in the firm potential grip of people who are losing their mind, who have great power, and we must fight back with Deva Dhammas. I want to enrich myself and fortify myself because I could be in that tribunal instead of Dosu. I want to break free. And I'm encouraging you to encourage me. Commune with me July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. I'm going to introduce some of my own personal meditative practices that I do, my own forms of yoga, the ways in which I document the evidence of my own awakening, my own liberation, my own kind of Dhammic-oriented journal. Those of you who are interested in learning or exploring what it means to more spontaneously authenticate your own voice, I'm high on that narrative, how to occupy deeper truth rather than what you think gets applaud, how to overcome the need to be an influencer, whatever it may be, likes, swipes, and views, overcoming your narrative of excess and wealth and your attachment to money and hoarding and all the ways in which it's normalized to be so rich and I'll just send a couple of bucks this way, whatever it may be, no offense to those. But how to release ourselves and not participate in the loss of liberty, but the opposite, to increase the radiance of freedom. So jot it down, July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. I will be the one as the point person for it. If you want to participate, email me, direct message, whatever it may be. I'll put it on a list and let you know, or someone will let you know. And I don't know whether there'll be people in person on Maui. It was my intention, but there are a lot of obstacles that I don't know that I want to navigate or even suggest that someone else should consider navigating. So it may very well be a digital global event, and the first for me in over 1.5 years. So my way of inviting you to invite your friends to participate in this very special event, God willing. So thank you for being in my life. Thank you for participating in today's sharing. And from my heart to yours, have an awesome day, and hope to see you tomorrow at 9:30. Thank you.